Ibrahim Traoré never saw it coming. His childhood friend, his brother in arms, the one he'd saved countless times, betrayed him for the one thing that had always haunted him: money. The sun was setting behind the hills of Burkina Faso, casting a golden hue over the dusty roads. Ibrahim Traoré stood in front of the small house where he'd spent his childhood, the scent of earth mixing with the faint aroma of burning wood. His fingers, rough and calloused, brushed against the doorframe, feeling the creak of memories. He hadn't been back in years, not since everything had changed. Once this village had been home. It was here that Ibrahim and his closest friend Samuel had shared dreams and promises of greatness. The air was different now, charged with an undercurrent of uncertainty. His footsteps echoed louder as he approached the door, the weight of the years pressing on his chest. Each step felt like a journey into a past Ibrahim had left behind but could never truly escape. He remembered the laughter they once shared, the innocent days when they were two boys with nothing but the belief that their future would be grand. Inside, the room was silent. The walls, once vibrant with stories and laughter, were now draped in quiet despair. A small table in the corner still held the remnants of their shared meals, broken plates, a few crumbs. Ibrahim's eyes settled on the wooden chest in the corner. It was a reminder of simpler days of innocence. But now it was just a piece of the past, a reminder of how everything had changed, including his bond with Samuel. The betrayal had cut deeper than any enemy's weapon. The friend he trusted had sold him out for the very thing he had always sworn never to covet: money. Ibrahim's mind wandered back to the fateful day when everything had begun to unravel. It was during a particularly difficult period, when Burkina Faso was in turmoil, that Samuel had approached him. At first, it had seemed like any other conversation. They were supposed to be allies, fighting for a better future for their country, but Samuel's words carried a hidden weight, a glimmer of something dark in his eyes. "Ibrahim, I know what's at stake here," Samuel had said, his voice low, almost as if whispering a secret. "But what if we could ensure our future? We don't have to keep fighting for scraps. There's a way to rise above it all." Ibrahim had listened, naive in his belief that Samuel, his brother, would never betray him. They had been through too much together. Samuel had fought beside him in the trenches, supported him when he lost everything. To him, Samuel wasn't just a friend, he was family. But as the days passed, Ibrahim began to notice strange changes in Samuel. He no longer came to him for advice or support. He became distant, as though some invisible thread had snapped between them. Samuel no longer visited Ibrahim's home for their long conversations. He no longer offered a shoulder when the weight of the world felt unbearable. Ibrahim noticed the faintest hints of a new life creeping into Samuel's actions: new clothes, new friends, a new sense of self-importance. The people Samuel began associating with weren't the ones Ibrahim had known. They were different, distant, cold, transactional. And then, it happened. Samuel had struck a deal with the very people they had sworn to fight against. The deal was simple: money for loyalty. Ibrahim's heart sank when he discovered the truth. Samuel had been selling out the very people they were meant to protect. The betrayal was a quiet one, carried out in the shadows. Ibrahim confronted him in a quiet, dimly lit room. Samuel stood, with his back turned, not even meeting his eyes. "I never wanted this, Ibrahim," Samuel said, his voice shaking with guilt and fear. "You don't understand. This is the only way out. You're too idealistic. I had to do it for my family. For me. I trusted you." Ibrahim's voice cracked, his fists clenched at his sides. "We fought together. We bled together. And this is how you repay me?" Samuel turned slowly, his face a mask of conflict and guilt, but the glimmer of greed in his eyes was undeniable. "You don't know what it's like to want more, Ibrahim. To have the power to change everything, to be free of this struggle." Samuel's voice wavered, but the conviction was there. "I did it for us. I did it for our future." Ibrahim felt a pang of disbelief. His childhood friend, the one he had trusted above all else, was now a stranger. It wasn't the betrayal that hurt. It was the lies, the justification for the choice. Samuel's voice trembled, but there was no escaping the truth. Samuel's greed had blinded him to everything that mattered: honor, loyalty, and the bond they once shared. "I did it for us, Ibrahim, for our future," Samuel repeated, as though trying to convince himself. But Ibrahim's heart shattered. "You did it for you," he whispered, barely audible. "For yourself." The years they had spent together, the trust they had built, gone in an instant. Ibrahim could feel the walls closing in, his chest tight with anger, disappointment, and disbelief. Samuel had never seen the true cost of his actions. He had sold out his own brother, the person who would have given his life for him, for money. Ibrahim knew then that their bond had died. There would be no reconciliation, no going back. The damage was irreversible. Days turned into weeks, and Ibrahim found himself spiraling deeper into the darkness. The weight of the betrayal gnawed at him. The country was falling apart, and now he was fighting not just for his people but for his own sense of honor. How could he continue when the very person he had trusted had become a symbol of everything he had fought against? Samuel was now a part of the problem, not the solution. In the midst of the chaos, Ibrahim found an unexpected ally, an old woman who lived on the outskirts of the village. She had known Samuel and Ibrahim when they were children. She had seen their bond, their friendship, and now she saw the pain in Ibrahim's eyes. "You've carried this burden long enough," she said one evening, her voice soft but firm. "But you cannot carry the weight of his choices, Ibrahim. You have your own path to walk." Her words struck a chord. The years of pain, the weight of betrayal. It was time to let go. Ibrahim realized that he had been holding on to the past, clinging to a friendship that no longer existed. Samuel's choices were his own, and they didn't have to define Ibrahim's. The cool night air filled Ibrahim's lungs, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he breathed deeply. He wasn't broken. He was becoming something else, something stronger. Ibrahim rose from the ashes of his betrayal. The pain of the past remained, but it no longer controlled him. His resolve had strengthened. He focused on rebuilding his people, his country, without the burden of Samuel's treachery. Each day, the weight of the past lifted a little more. One day, as he walked through the village, he saw Samuel standing on the edge of the market square. He looked different, haggard, lost. His eyes met Ibrahim's, but there was no anger, no hatred, just a quiet understanding between them. The betrayal was still there, but it no longer had the power to define either of them. Samuel, too, had been broken by his choices, but unlike Ibrahim, he had not found a way to heal. Ibrahim walked past him, not with bitterness, but with a silent prayer for the friend he once knew. Their paths had diverged, and the past no longer held them together. But Ibrahim had learned that some people, no matter how close, could never walk the same road. He had to let go. The sun rose over the horizon, and with it, Ibrahim stepped forward into his future, stronger, wiser, and free from the chains of betrayal.